Hey, there we go. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Spring Band Concert. How about it for the Wellesley High School Concert Band? We are going to kick things off with a piece of music by Carol Britton Chambers, a piece written very recently, 2022, a jubilant, celebratory concert opener. This is A Jubilant Spirit. We've sort of designed this first three pieces in our concert to be a bit of a suite. So we started with a bit of a galliard, you might say, from a Renaissance style dance in 3. And then Dark Adventure moves us in a similar time period kind of style, but into a duple meter or 4/4 time. And then Residence of the Lords, the third one, also similar time period, bit of a medieval kind of sound, moving back to the triple meter. So we can really think of these first 3 pieces as a miniature suite that we've assembled for you. So we move now to Dark Adventure, written in 2022 by Ralph Ford. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And then for our third piece in this miniature suite here, we move to a piece of music written in 2020 by Victor Lopez, a composer who has written a lot of great original compositions and arrangements for some of our jazz ensembles. His original compositions for wind band have also been widely performed, and he's based out of this Miami area. I knew him first actually as a horn arranger and member of Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine. Some of us, yes, of a particular age in the room do remember that group from a time long ago. And so he has obviously a very varied career of writing and arranging. So this one is Residents of the Lords. It's a really beautiful piece of music that highlights optimism and the potential for a new day. All of the possibility when the sun comes up each day for making the best of it. This is called A New Light. very much, ladies and gentlemen. So as the concert band gets ready to perform this last piece in their set, I will start by introducing the title of this piece, which is Coldplay Classics. Now, that's fine, but I want the adults in the room to have a chance to let that title sink in for a moment. And yes, me too, yes. Clocks will be one of the tunes that is a song that we'll be performing as part of this medley. And the song Clocks was released on March 13, 2003, 22 years ago. Everybody. One of the next pieces on the set will be the well-known piece Paradise, which was released on September 12, 2011, 14 years ago, from their fifth album, Milo Xyloto, for all of you who are playing along at home. And finally, the last piece in this medley will be the very famous Viva La Vida, which was released on June 12, 2008. And so, yes, indeed, folks, yes, these are classics. And so we will be playing these songs from more than 20 years ago for you, and really, we've had a blast working on them. The other thing I want to highlight on this one is that we have the wonderful Cole Delgado joining us on piano. Thank you to Cole. So enjoy. Here's some of the Coldplay classics. so much, ladies and gentlemen. How about it one more time for this wonderful Wellesley High School concert? To do. We've got a parade coming right up on next Sunday, and then it's going to be Memorial Day services, graduation. So this is the season, so please keep on joining us and supporting your wonderful band students. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And now we're just going to change the stage quickly and move to our wonderful Wellesley Wind Ensemble. Thanks so much, y'all. In case anyone hasn't quite figured it out yet, in our program we are taking a bit of a tour of Asia with our repertoire in the Wind Ensemble this semester. So our first piece was written by Chen Yi, who wrote Spring Festival in 2001 for Yuan-Tan, which is the spring festival to celebrate the Chinese New Year. The composer drew her melodic material from a Chinese folk ensemble piece called Lion Playing Ball. This is Spring Festival. The next three pieces are the same three pieces that the Wind Ensemble has recently performed for its MICA set. MICA stands for the Massachusetts Instrumental and Choral Conductors Association, who hold an annual band and choral festival throughout the state. We take part in that band festival every year, and I'm very pleased to say that this year the Wellesley Wind Ensemble earned a gold medal at that festival. send a huge thanks to all the parents who joined us up at Groton Hill Music Center in beautiful Groton, Massachusetts, amongst all of the beautiful orchards. And we had a really special day celebrating their achievement and getting to perform in a spectacular new venue. So if anyone wasn't able to join us that day, check out this beautiful space, and we hope to be back there many times again in the future. So the next piece that we have on our set brings us to the March of the Mughal Emperors by Edward Elgar, which is an excerpt from the larger work, The Crown of India, which he wrote to celebrate the Indian coronation of the new King and Queen of India in 1912. This is March of the Mughal Emperors.
appreciation. That is a very, very challenging march. So one more big round of applause for this team.
And it's very special. Obviously, I've been doing this for a little while, and that's the first time I've gotten to do that piece. So I'm constantly trying to, search and find something that challenges them, that they haven't done before, and that I haven't done before. And so this was a cool find, and was one that I think we had a great time challenging ourselves to make fit in this cool little set that we're doing here. The next piece we're going to do was written in 2005, so we're moving quite a jump forward here to Fantasy on a Japanese Folk Song by Samuel R. Hazo. And this piece tells a story of a Japanese girl, so I'm going to read to you a bit because this is his narrative and story that he intends to tell through this music. It's a story of a Japanese girl who's given a music box by her mother and father when she's a child. The music box played the Japanese doyo, or child's song called Tsuneyama. As a young girl, this music box provided a sense of comfort during difficult times. When she becomes an adult, she falls in love with an American and faces the choice of staying in her Japanese village or marrying and going back to America with him. She eventually chooses to leave and move with him to America. However, she later realizes the need to feel close to her culture, and part of her always wonders if there was life for her in her native Japan. As time goes by, the sense of conflict surfaces with more intensity. Balancing her love for her husband with her love for the culture that she left behind gives way to painful episodes. During these moments, her only method of coping with her circumstance is to open the music box given to her as a child. And that melody that she hears is what brings her comfort and reminds her of home. And that will be very heavily featured within this piece of music throughout the ensemble. This piece will feature Shamina Abdullah on flute. How about it for Shamina? This is Fantasy on a Japanese Folk Song, Samuel R. Hazo. piece, I want to send some special thanks to Tyler James, who's done such a wonderful job with our lights, with our sound, making us look and sound great. He's our auditorium manager. Thank you, Tyler. Yes. Saracino, who's our K-12 director and has been here for a short amount of time and is already doing a wonderful job helping us just find lots of ways to keep on growing, so I really appreciate her work. To Allison Madden, who did the programs for us, she's our department secretary. To Pops, to Dylan Johnson, to Nina Cohen, and to Tanya DuPont, thank you so much for your support. Thank you to Pops, and thank you to our Pops parents. And finally, I want to thank all of our band parents, because without you, we wouldn't be able to do all the wonderful things we do. So thanks for the support. Thanks for being there to support your kids and growing and getting them to lessons and getting them new instruments and all of the things that it takes to be a band parent. So how about it for being a band parent? So the last piece on our program is a special one in the canon of band repertoire. It's one of those ones that you often see on some of those MICA set lists or state band festival kinds of lists. And it's endured for a number of years. This one's from 1965 by John Barnes Chance, called Variations on a Korean Folk Song. And as the name implies, Variations on a Korean Folk Song consists of a set of variations on the Korean folk song Ariran. In 1966, the piece was awarded the prestigious American Bandmasters Association Oswald Award. As with many themes and variations, the composer begins by stating the main theme plainly, and then proceeds to portray the melody in a wide variety of moods, tempi, and styles, from a lively march to a moody bitonal section to French Impressionism in the style of Ravel or Debussy, to an exhilarating round to close this historic work for wind band. This is Variations on a Korean Folk Song, 1965, John Barnes Chance.
lots and lots and lots of applause. That is very, very challenging music. As I just feel very, very, very lucky to work at a place and work with students where I get to be in contact with that music. I get to be in contact with music that sounds this beautiful and is that meticulously performed by this wonderful group of students who've been just such a pleasure to work with. It's a really, really special privilege to get to work with them, and it's not lost on me as I'm standing in front of that piece conducting it tonight, not every music educator gets to do this, and gets to be in front of music and working with students that's so special and so wonderful. So I'm very thankful to all of you for your wonderful students, and I'm very, very thankful for this group of musicians. How about it one more time for the Wellesley? That really is the best we've played that, and that's such a wonderful feeling to, you know, they earned the gold medal at Mike and all the rest of it, and then kept growing, and isn't that awesome? Isn't that special?
Yeah, so I am Louisa, and I'm a senior this year, and me and the rest of the ensemble, I know, just wanted to say a big thank you to Mr. Scott for all of his wonderful leadership. And I was thinking of more things to say when we were sitting over there, but then I was so amazed by the concert band that I didn't have time to think of anything, so this is all just coming right from the heart. But yeah, Mr. Scott, you've done so much to help all of us grow as musicians, and through my 4 years in the ensemble, I just feel like I've gotten better, and I've gotten the chance to have so many fun memories of our time, all the entertaining stuff in rehearsal, and all the interesting pieces that we play. It's been such a great opportunity for me as a musician and as a person. Getting to know everyone in the ensemble has been so great. And all the work you do with the wind ensemble, with the concert band, with the jazz bands, it's really amazing. So can we give one more round of applause to Mr. Scott?
We'd also like to dedicate this bouquet of flowers to Mr. J, who works tirelessly night and day to keep the stage running for us, to have these beautiful lights going, to make sure that, this microphone doesn't peak with Mr. Scott saying some beautiful things about the songs that we're playing. So we'd just like to give a big round of applause to Mr. J.
So everyone, please check out your programs. There's lots more music coming this spring. Then, I'm not mistaken, but an important big next one that's coming is, of course, that our jazz combo is performing at the world-famous Regatta Bar in Cambridge, coming up on the 21st, Wednesday the 21st. That's next Wednesday. So please, everyone, join us for that. If you would like a ticket to that, they've given me a bunch of tickets, and just email me and I'll create a guest list for us, okay? So that's the easiest way for me to handle it. So if everyone can just email me and just get in contact with me, I'll put you on a guest list and let you know, if I run out of tickets, there'll still be more that you can get at the door, but we'll just create that guest list. So thank you for bearing with us as we're trying to make this happen super fast. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Have a great night. Thanks so much.